Well, happy birthday, Laura, and thank you, John. I'll talk as long or as little as you want, John. It's I'm delighted to be with you all, and it's always great to be with the STLPDQ, ASAP, REIA, and I mean, as John mentioned, I mean, what I do is represent people who are buying property for back taxes, have lost their property for back taxes, or have a lien on property that is sold for back taxes. And when we say investor, that could be somebody with real deep pockets, and sometimes it's the church that wants to buy the vacant lot next door to put in a bigger parking lot, or the lady who wants to buy the vacant lot next door, or the dilapidated house next door and take it down to put in a little swing set for her granddaughter or put in a little tomato plant. So investor is a big tent. You know what I mean? And as far as the STLREIA goes, I mean, we're mostly investors, right? And as I said, investors can come in lots of different flavors. But also the thing to know is everything about the tax sale is a tax collection strategy. It is not a real estate marketing strategy. So sometimes people call me and they say, I want a three-bedroom, two bath in the Pattonville School District. And I said, do I look like your realtor? Call a realtor. And if you want to go through the downloadable Excel sheet that John talked about, or if you want to zoom in on the maps, or you want to drive around Bellman Farms Drive or whatever else, you are absolutely welcome to do that. And if you find a three-bedroom, two bath in the Pattonville School District and you buy it, I can help you with your legal compliance with the right to redeem. I can help you with your court appearances, that kind of stuff. I can make the technical and legal aspects easier. The other thing to know is that anytime, well, we're Americans, right? And we have this thing called property rights. And that's a very big deal. No one's coming to take my dog. No one's coming to take my gun. No one's coming to take my farm, right? Now, the government can absolutely take away my farm and sell it to Laura Lee in order to pay my tax bill if I don't pay my real estate tax bill. The government can't, however, sue me and garnish my wages in order to pay my real estate tax bill, but they can do some of that stuff for income tax, business tax, payroll tax, personal property tax, sales tax, and other stuff. Real estate taxes are different. The legal fiction is that the earth pays the taxes. And this comes back to us from farming England in the 18th century, where you had to give a couple chickens to the king and you could sell a couple of chickens at Soulard Market. So anyway, John also mentioned a tax sale coming up in the city. The city of St. Louis has usually five tax sales a year. We're down to the penultimate. That means the second to last. And that'll be in August. There is no sale in October. There is no sale in September. There is a sale in October. In the city, there is no right to redeem after the tax sale, which means it's supposed to be all sales are final and you get it right away, subject to a woman wearing a black dress, I mean, a black gown, a black cape, a black robe, saying it's yours. Okay. So if you buy a property on August 11, August 12 in the city, then it would be yours if the judge says so, and the judge is likely to say so no earlier than 4, 5, 6 weeks after the auction. We have to order a title report, make sure that the notices were commensurate with the United States Constitution and due process, and then go in front of a judge with an appraiser in tow. Who testifies that the amount you paid for the property that the government has taken away from another citizen is commensurate with the property's value under forced sale conditions. John also mentioned the St. Louis County tax sale, which, like the other 112 counties in Missouri that use that system, the exceptions are the city of St. Louis and Jackson County, which is Kansas City. Jackson County is postponing their tax sales this year. The city operates under a completely different system I just mentioned. And then the third one would be St. Louis County, Phelps County, Callaway County, Camden County, Jefferson, Lincoln, Warren, St. Charles, and so on. Those sales in most Missouri counties that are not Jackson County and are not the city are subject to at least a 1 year right to redeem if it's a first or second offering tax sale, subject to a 90-day right to redeem if it's a third offering tax sale. And so when you buy those things, you do not take immediate possession. There is a time limit where the taxpayer or her granddaughter or her lender or her judgment creditor can pay you back plus interest and keep their property. During the redemption period, you're a trespasser and not the property owner. So, John, I don't know what you all have on the agenda for today. I'm absolutely you have a good, strong group here. I'm available for questions for a few minutes or however long you want to you want to keep me, and or tell me what else you want me to orate on, please.
Well, thank you, Dale. We appreciate you showing up. I know you put so much into it. Anybody have any questions for Dale? I know there's a lot to all this, but this is where you learn right here.
It's real complicated. It's really complicated. It doesn't have to be, but it sort of is, and that's because of the constitutional issues about taking away other people's property, and then the mix of paying the taxes in the tax sale and also investigating. Am I buying a landfill? Am I buying a toxic waste dump? What about the foundation? What about the sewer bill? What about the federal tax lien against a person who has a common name that might carry over to me and all that kind of stuff? I'll take my answer off the air.
Yeah, I tell you, there's so much to it, and you do a good job kind of sorting it out and making some sense out of it. Just maybe briefly, I know because we got most of us or a lot of us anyway are in St. Louis County. What about the waiting periods? Now, St. Louis County are they still doing the sealed bids where you mail it in as opposed to the courthouse stairs? Or can you talk a little bit about that, Dale?
Of course, John. Now, you and I were together at Scott Walterbach's seminar last month, and we learned from some experts in the industry about the recent United States Supreme Court cases on the subject of tax sales, specifically Tyler versus Hennepin County, Minnesota, and Pung versus Isabella County, Michigan. I believe that those cases suggest strongly, if Missouri law does not, that a tax sale should be fair and should happen in person with bidders raising their hands and without a lot of limitations on the bidder pool. However, St. Louis County is the only jurisdiction in Missouri that uses a sealed bid system. Now, the county executive is a lame duck who is not running again. The county executive appoints the revenue director, the collector of revenue, and so on. We have interim people in some of those roles right now until we have a new county executive elected in August, November, and brought in January. And so that may change. In the meantime, however, the auction that occurs in most Missouri counties on the fourth Monday in August, this year that's August 24th, happens by sealed bid in St. Louis County. If you want to bid on something in St. Louis County, the list is on their website. The instructions are on their website. The sign-up sheet is on their website. I also have a downloadable, searchable Excel sheet on my website. John shared the clickable link a moment ago, or you can go to dalesweet.com or missouritaxsales.com. And if you choose to sign up for the auction in St. Louis County, you do so by filling out a notarized registration form and sending it in or dropping it off. Then they email you a bidder number, bidder number 1234, for instance, and an Excel sheet where you write down everything that you actually have to type it. I think that might be illegal under Pung. the pung case that I mentioned a minute ago. But you fill out an Excel sheet, you send it in with your checks, and you sit around for a few weeks. They cook the books and open the envelopes and lick the stamps and tell you whether you won or not. And if you did win, then you have other things to do. I can help you with those, or you can call someone else who does what I do, and they can help you with that. And if you don't win, then you get your money back. It's a complete sealed bid system, which generally results in higher um, winning bid amounts. Think about it. At a normal auction, if I go to a farm auction and I want to bid on the combine and it goes way too high to Eric Kuntz here, who's on the call, and so then I still have money to play with, I might buy the tractor. In a sealed bid auction, I have to know that I have $100,000, $10, whatever I have for my resources, and then apportion those resources correctly and know that I might get back 100% of my money, or I might end up with 100% of the properties that I bid on, subject to the right to redeem. Does that answer your question, John? I know I talk real fast sometimes.
Yeah, it does. And you do a good job simplifying it also, Dale. We appreciate that. Now, there is a waiting period even after you would and redemption period, even after you would win the bid, if you would win. And would maybe just talk briefly about that?
Of course. So in most Missouri counties, the right to redeem exists after the auction. What is it? What does redeem mean? Do we have any churchgoers on the call? Redeem normally means to cleanse oneself of sin, right? The word redeem in relation to real estate means pay the taxes and keep the property, keep the status quo. Okay. So the property is considered to be dirty or sinful or without grace if the taxes are unpaid. And when the taxes get paid, that causes the property to have redeemed itself. In whose eyes has the property redeemed itself? Well, probably the parks, the school district, the library, the zoo, the art museum, the things that our taxes pay for. So after a first or second offering in most Missouri counties, including St. Louis County, there's an absolute 1 year right to redeem. In practice, that usually turns out to be about 14 months, but it can be as long as 18 months if the tax sale bidder wants to stretch it out. Okay. And there are several reasons why she might do that based on bidding on the wrong thing, wanting the interest instead of the property, et cetera, et cetera. If the taxes are so delinquent that the government has offered the property for sale 2 times before, and now this is the third offering of the property in August of 2026, then there would be a 90 to 135-day right to redeem. And the reason, presumably, for that shorter right to redeem is the fact that we're dealing with an extreme tax delinquency at that point, right? So just to throw out some more numbers and to confuse the situation any more than I possibly can, in Missouri, a tax collector need only wait for 1 year of tax delinquency before she or he starts the tax collection process. Okay, so taxes are due in Missouri on New Year's Eve. January 1st is a holiday. Most of us are hungover. I'm not. And on January 2nd, the tax collector, Angie down there in St. Francis County, whoever it is, can walk into her office and start the tax foreclosure process. 1 year is the minimum, 3 years is the maximum. Okay, so St. Louis County waits 3 years. That's a matter of public policy. So, for instance, anything that is going to be offered for the first time next month is tomorrow. You know that, right? Yeah. Anyway, next month is tomorrow. Funny. So when we roll around to the fourth Monday in August, St. Louis County will be offering for sale things where the taxes weren't paid for 2023, 2024, and 2025. Okay. If it's a second offering, then that means they tried it last year, nobody bid on it, and the taxes were also delinquent for 22 and so on and so forth. Most Missouri counties use a 2 year. That's a little happy medium between real strict and real forgiving. All right. So St. Charles, et cetera, are going to be 2 years of tax delinquency leading up to an auction. Crawford County, for instance, is only going to, that's Steelville, Cuba, Crawford is going to be just 1 year of back taxes. So if somebody didn't pay their 2025 tax bill, they'll sell it to you for just the 2025 tax bill, subject to the 1 year right to redeem, of course. So redemption is a period that exists after the auction and before you get a deed to the property. And during that time period of redemption, which is 1 year or 90 days, the tax sale purchaser needs to perform certain tasks and do certain steps. Does that answer the question, John?
Absolutely. Yeah, I know it gets a little complicated. You do a really good job of telling us that, but you do need to abide by the guidelines they have. And every county's different. That's what makes Missouri so interesting. Because I know Butler County, I believe, is a 1 year also, which I found out recently. So I was always used to the ones I've dealt with, which are 3 year, which is 5 years of back taxes. So I mean, you just got to know what you're dealing with. And I mean, that's what I've learned, and I appreciate you. I think you did answer it well.
Yeah,
Um,
thank
yeah,
you.
very well. Does anybody got any questions for Dale? This is your opportunity to ask any kind of questions because Dale, you deal with the quiet titles also, which is another whole ball game as far as is knowing what to do there because there are people because a lot of people think that all the liens are wiped out. And you kind of touched on that; they're not necessarily. Want to talk just a minute about the quiet titles and what goes into that?
Sure, of course. Well, I mean, we're all real estate professionals here on the call, so we know the concept of title. Title is who owns it and subject to what, right? This coffee cup, I own it. Is there a little blue slip that says Missouri Department of Revenue that says that I own it? No, but there is for my Buick, right? And the little blue slip from the Department of Revenue for my Buick is not title. It's not a title. It's a certificate of title. If you look at the top of the document, it is a piece of paper that says who owns the Buick, right? Uh, who owns the Buick is a legal concept. And the same thing is true for real estate. Those of us who watched cartoons when we were a kid, somebody would be tied down and forced to give up the deed to the ranch as if there's only one deed, right? And the reality is that in general, property goes from James to Judy to Anne to Linda, and then there will be a deed from James to Judy to Anne to Linda. That's three deeds, right? Between those four people. A tax sale would have the deed from James to Judy, but then Judy doesn't pay her taxes. And then out of the blue, the government comes and deeds the property to Laura Lee for her birthday present. Okay. Laura now has a title problem. Okay. And she can't easily borrow against that property or sell that property to someone who needs a loan to pay her purchase price, even though she staged it beautifully and baked the cookies and put the balloons on the handrail and had the best ad on the MLS and the best listing ever and used all the right words. She still can't sell it. So one of the things that John mentioned as a curative remedy to a title problem would be what we call a quiet title lawsuit. A quiet title lawsuit can be used for lots of different purposes, but in the tax sale context, the tax sale bidder who gets a deed from the government because Judy didn't pay her taxes sues Judy, sues Judy's creditor, sues Judy's lender, and then asks a judge wearing a black robe to sort it all out. The general idea is that a tax sale purchaser takes free and clear of everything, but there are many complicated exceptions, some of which John alluded to. Interestingly enough, though, however, a quiet title, which is a lawsuit, costs money, takes time, has an uncertain outcome. in some cases. I'm settling one on Tuesday that's been going on for 3 years. My client's happy, it's going to be fine. But that's 3 years of uncertainty following a tax sale because everybody who owned the property was deceased. Okay. It has various heirs who squabble with each other in various states. They're in Boston, they're in Atlanta, they're in Clearwater, Florida. You get the idea, right? So, in order to perfect the title and quiet it, against those noisy heirs, I have to sue and get a judgment from a judge wearing a black robe here in Missouri that says Florida lady has no more rights in that property. There are other ways to clear up the title, however, and I had one of them come across my desk a couple of days ago. The guy hadn't paid his taxes since 2011. The government attempted to sell the property at least 3 times. This was in Berkeley or Jennings or somewhere, all right. And then because no one bid on it at any of the tax auctions, the municipality asked the county if they could have it for free. The answer was yes. The municipality got it. They sold it to an investor. The investor took out the wall between the kitchen and the dining room, made everything gray, put in the luxury vinyl, the who changed all the light bulbs to be scary and all that kind of stuff, and then listed it for sale for a real nice price. Closing didn't happen. Why? Because there was a tax sale. And the guy who didn't pay his taxes since 2011 is a problem. And so the realtor called me and said, how can I save my commission? How can I get this deal to work? And I said, well, show me the title commitment, show me your letter report, your title search, or whoever. I looked at it. I said, there's only one person on there. I've got a terrific person who works here in my office who's really good at finding people. So I had her do a skip trace. I asked her to do a skip trace on the guy who hadn't paid the taxes since 2011. Sure enough, he's alive and well and somewhere in St. Louis County. All right. I typed up a quitclaim deed, handed it over to the realtor and to the prospective seller in return for a very nominal fee. They went and found this guy, gave him an Olive Garden gift card or a couple of bucks for his trouble, took him around the corner to his bank, got the thing notarized. Their closing is still happening. Okay. It was not bumped. Nobody lost it. We resuscitated it, and we did so for a really reasonable fee and a little bit of legwork and a little bit of splaining. All right. Instead of a 6 month, $2,500, 8 month, $3,500 lawsuit. So the lawsuit, however, is the quiet title. It's a type of litigation, just as John mentioned.
That's a great outcome, Dale. They're not always that smooth, but I do like it when the previous people will sign a quitclaim deed because that usually cures your problem.
It does,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
now sometimes you have to worry about marital status and are they in a company and who are the other members of the company and all that kind of stuff. But when people call me with their title problems, I don't look at them as my meal ticket. I look at it as a problem that needs to be solved in the easiest, most efficient, and least expensive method possible, and then try to explain that to them and explain to them that God helps those who help themselves.
Hmm. Very good point. And what's just out of curiosity, what's the longest one you've ever had that got resolved?
Oh, 3, 4 years in
3 or 4 years?
general. I mean, once they putter on for that long, John, there's usually a reason to settle it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Unless because in general, now it's a completely different story if it's the vacant lot next door and you already got your tomato plants on it, or the swing set out there for the grandson, right?
Hmm.
Or if it's sentimental to either the delinquent taxpayer who lost it, or it's meaningful in terms of fitting in a puzzle piece in a development for the tax sale purchaser, right? But in general, 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom houses or vacant lots in Jennings or whatever it is, they're what we call fungible. They're not necessary. You can move on to the next one. without losing a whole lot of sleep and whatever else. So I encourage, if things go on for too long and it seems like we're fighting about nothing and all we're doing is wasting time and running up people's lawyer bills, then I suggest, how can we settle this? What do you got into it? You chased some raccoons out of there, you hired a pest control outfit, you paid a couple more years taxes, and you knocked down the weeds 6 times. How much did that cost? Now
Mhm.
let's add a little bit of sugar and let's ask them if they want to settle.
Very good point. Yeah. Yeah. And I know you do a good job talking about that too, that you are better off sometimes because we've had people stay in the properties, that were renters and quit paying rent. They went to the tax sale. I mean, the thing happened, but show up with a tray of brownies. I know you've mentioned that several times. A lot of people don't do that. They want to go fight, and that's not usually the way to cure anything. No, I mean, little sugar goes a long way, like you say.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have people who, before the judge has even confirmed the sale or before the quiet title is over, they're calling me with their get tough. We need to get her out.
Mhm.
Oh, oh, oh. Number one, that's not humanitarian. And number two, that's not practical from a business standpoint, right? You want to get real tough for no reason. Then you're going to get your glass broken and your furnace stolen and all kinds of other hell. You want the lights still on, you want the dumpster not overflowing, then why don't we, as John says, go over there with a tray of brownies on a Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Most people are at home at 10 a.m. on a Saturday and say, "Hey, I come in peace. Here are those brownies. I also have 9-volt batteries for the smoke detector. Can I come in and look around, or would Tuesday be better?" And then if we need to get tough, well, great, let's do that. We'll get a swarm of sheriff's deputies over there, and it'll be 6 weeks from now, and you won't like the outcome.
It's never good. The properties don't get better when you have fights. I know that
Oh
for a
no.
fact. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Very
yep.
good. Such good stuff. Has anybody got any questions for Dale? This is a great opportunity to ask any kind of questions related to tax sales or properties here. I know we got one. In fact, we haven't got back with him, but we have one a lot. We were talking about lots that we bought down in Branson a few years ago, and they built a nice subdivision around it with these really nice houses out there. And we just got contacted from the city of Parks from Branson, and they want to meet with us about putting a nature trail through our property. So we're gonna, and then maybe we can do. I know we talked about maybe having the tax sale seminar down there in the next year with Scott. So we'll see if we can make any connections down there while we're there. But that I thought that was pretty interesting. So we're going to schedule some time and make a business trip, of course, down to
Yeah.
Branson.
Hey,
John,
John, I have a question
yeah.
for Dale. I missed some of the calls, so I don't know if you covered this or not. Someone was asking me about the tax sales and what's the best way to get on your mailing list? Is it to call you or send you a text message or email?
Well, I appreciate your question, John. May I, t- I and my phone number is 314 tax sale. So it's pretty easy to remember. All right, just saying. And it's on the materials that John has dropped into the chat. My website is either dalesweet.com or missouritaxsales.com. And there's a link on there where you can type in your email address. I mean, frankly, you call me, I call you back, your voice messages is full, blah, blah, blah. This can go on for a while. The easiest thing is probably just to go on my website and put it in. But you'll find that I answer my phone, although I did reject a couple of calls in the last 34 minutes.
Thank you.
So did I. Yeah, yeah. Get on Dale's list. If you're not on there, I highly recommend getting on his mail list because he gives you such good information. We put some of that in the information I put in the chat there, but I mean, which has a lot in there, but it's very detailed and easy to understand. I will say too, which is unlike a lot of the tax sale stuff out there. A lot of it's complicated. Dale makes it really understandable and very friendly to use.
You're very kind, John. And John referred to the tax sale seminar. That's an annual nerdy, but and very good and very helpful seminar. And it is going to be in Branson. That's confirmed.
Yay.
It is going to be in Branson this coming June. There's a some country club, some Friday, I don't know. But we're either going to go to Silver Dollar City the day before or the day after, not sure yet. So mark your calendars.
Very nice. Yeah, maybe you can go on my new trail that we're going to have on our property too, because I think it's close to that country club actually.
We like conservation in Missouri.
Yes, very nice. Yeah, thank you. All right, anybody else got any questions for Dale? Great opportunity right here.
I got a quick question and a comment.
Yeah, there you go.
Uh-oh.
Well, Dale, I just want to thank you for those spicy chips that you gave me at John's seminar, tax seminar.
You're welcome, Eric.
And the question I have is, as far as the post-third tax sales, are they still doing a minimum bid for that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So Eric's question is about a post third. So far we've been talking about auctions and sealed bids and showing up and raising your hand and all that kind of stuff. A post third is something that 113 Missouri counties have already tried to sell 3 years in a row and no one bought it. Okay. So for easy math that even a lawyer can understand, the tax bill is $10,000. All right. That's the principal taxes that if they had been paid on time, it would be 10 grand. Okay. I'm getting to answer your question, Eric, and you know I am. And the penalties and interest are another $1,000. Okay. So the sticker price on this Buick is 11 grand. My math right there? 10 plus one. All right. So you can buy something from a Missouri tax collector over the counter. This is what John does. He can talk to you all day long about it. Over the counter for 11 grand, no BS, no negotiation, blah, blah, blah. Now, I believe my legal opinion is that a tax collector in Missouri has the absolute right to compromise the taxes and reduce that amount when the taxes are delinquent and when something is on the post third list. But remember, Eric, that that person's job is to collect revenue. It says it right there in their title, doesn't it? Collector of revenue. And so if they want to establish a threshold or wait a while or whatever, that is within their discretion. So turning now to St. Louis County, which is what I think you're asking about, Eric, right?
Yes.
All right. So turning now to St. Louis County, years ago, the unwritten rule was 80%. Okay, so using my easy math example, that would be $8,000, right? So if you bid $8,025, 8025, you were likely to get it. Okay. You could strip off the penalties and interest, strip off 20%. That was never in writing. Okay. And some counties would let you go lower, some counties would want every single dollar, et cetera, et cetera. Then there was a time where the unwritten rule went away and it was 100%. So in my example, that was $10,000, not $11,000, right? You could still take off the penalties and interest, but you had to pay the 10, all right? Lately, they were doing some things pennies on the dollar, okay? They were accepting some things pennies on the dollar. But there has been, as I mentioned about 15 minutes ago, Eric, there's been a lot of turnover. There's some empty positions and whatever else. If there's a current status quo on what that percentage needs to be in order to have it considered, I don't know what it is. Okay. And I would say it depends how much you offer, depends on how bad you want it, doesn't it? And and does it help if you take some Starbucks cards with you when you go to drop off your offer? I don't know. I'm not talking about a bribe. I'm talking about I have a problem. I need your help. If I gave you this check today, would it be likely to happen, or should I come back tomorrow with a check that's a little bit bigger? You follow me? And some of that's going to depend on who you talk to, what the current policy is, and how delinquent the taxes are. And then, of course, in what county are we talking? Now, you asked me to address St. Louis County, and I did. I mean, I have seen some for pennies on the dollar. I've also seen some where the person who was offering a very low amount also showed up with a demolition bid, or very, very scary pictures of a roof that collapsed or a tree through the window. You get the idea. I hope the answer to your question, Eric, is I don't really know. I mean, most of the time I get involved once people either have a tax sale certificate, which means they own the property subject to the right to redeem, or on the other hand, they already have a deed to the property. Some of the business details, like, what do they think they're buying, and how much is it worth to them, and all that kind of stuff is beyond my scope because I am a
Yep. Very nice.
Do we have any more time, John? Do we want to take another question? I have a noon Zoom, and you have
Sure.
your agenda you need to vote on.
I do
Sure.
have a question, Dale. Hi. John, do you have time?
Yeah, go ahead, Nicole. Of course.
It's just a quick question, Dale, and it's a general, and you might not have an answer.
All right.
I was just wondering if you can say which area, the city or the county, has the least shenanigans as it pertains to the tax sales.
I understand the question, Nicole, and I really can't. So, I guess I have to answer your question with a question. What's a shenanigan? So, so if a shenanigan is, I bought it at a tax sale and 10 months later somebody wants to redeem and pay me back, but I didn't get any interest on the amount that I paid over the opening bid amount. And so now I'm really crabby, and my husband's mad at me and my wife's mad at me, and I might have to file for bankruptcy and blah blah blah. Then I would say you don't want to bid on anything in an affluent area. Because it's more likely that redemption will occur there based on property values, right? And so that's just one example. But I mean, in order to better answer your question, I need to know what a shenanigan is, understanding, of course, that every situation is unique. Two McBride houses that are tax delinquent on the same street in the same subdivision will have completely different title reports, and will have completely different situations in terms of the humans' lives related to the ownership of that property, in terms of death, medical problems, bankruptcy, lack of estate plan. They did have a will, they did have a beneficiary deed, and so on. So it's mostly a case by case basis, and I can't really answer your question without more info, Nicole.
Okay. I'm gonna try to go to the tax sale coming up in the city just to see what it's all about, because I don't wanna, yeah, I'm a little nervous.
Yeah. Well, I think what Nicole just said is something really good. There's no reason you have to even register to go to one of these tax sales, right? Now, St. Louis County is sealed bid. There is no auction. There is no room full of people. There is no courthouse steps. All right. So it wouldn't do very much good to show up in Clayton on August 24th. You wouldn't see nothing. Okay. But regardless of whether Nicole registers to bid in the city on August 11th, or bids in the city on August 11th, or doesn't register but just goes, she can learn a lot just by going there and talking to people and watching to see how it goes, and then go out for a little breakfast croissant and go back on with her day.
Great point. Yeah, the learning is in the doing. I mean, showing up, you'll see what people do, even if you don't bid, and see who's there. What I've noticed is you meet a lot of people there that's actually in the business, and relationships is huge.
All right, John, should I leave you to your old business and new business and your selection of new officers for the month of August and so on?
Thank you. Yeah, you sure did. You did a great job. Appreciate that, Dale. We'll get the replay sent up tonight to everybody that couldn't make it. Great information though, as always. I mean, you're the one to get a hold of. What's your phone number again for anybody that wants to jot it down?
It's 314 tax sale, John, or 636 tax sale. And if I knew there was going to be a replay, I would have ironed my shirt.
That's okay. No, and yeah, I do have that on the PDF we put in there with your other information. You did such a great job filling us in on how it works. I mean, I appreciate that, Dale. Thank you very much.
It's my absolute pleasure. May I be excused, Your Honor?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. All
Take
right.
care, all. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
Dale.
Bye.